This video is sponsored by Petursen. More on that later. Finally, I am reviewing one of the most reliable, secure, and robust types of camera systems there are, and that is a local storage-based NVR system. So let's just jump into it. What's up guys, it's Drew from TaylorTech, and on this channel we do smart home tech reviews, installations, and DIY guides. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So we're going to be checking out this smart AI NVR that Amcrest sent me, as well as this night color AI camera that they sent me as well. Disclaimer here, they did send it to me for free, but this is not a sponsored video by them, and all of the opinions are my own. So without further ado, let's roll the montage. But wait, before we do that, I do have to cut in here real quick and mention that I am from the future. I already recorded all of this. I lost a bunch of the footage from setting up an unboxing. I'm gonna have to roll in a few voiceovers here. I'll make it as seamless as possible. So now, roll the montage. Now opening this guy up, you can see the power supply, the PoE switch, as well as the motherboard itself. Now you can see towards the top of it is where you can install the up to two 3.5-inch hard drives. Now I plug in the Molex power connector as well as the SATA cable, and here's our Western Digital 4TB WD Purple, which is a surveillance hard drive. I recommend getting a hard drive that is designed to be spun up at all times. It will last you a lot longer and you won't lose any of your footage. Now we need to plug in the SATA cable as well as the power connector into the hard drive itself, and we are good to move forward. Now don't miss this step or skip it. It is definitely necessary if you have your cameras installed outside, especially if it's PoE and delivering power. You need to have this cover over it to prevent any moisture getting into the connector. Ask me how I know. Now unfortunately this camera doesn't have a microphone or speaker built in, so these cables that I'm cutting off are for a input and output for a microphone and speaker. But just so you do know, none of those extra cables are necessary except for that Ethernet jack, especially when you're running the Amcrest NVR. You can just plug it right into it and you're good to go. Or you could hook it up to your own PoE switch in your house or non-PoE switch and hook up a 12-volt power supply to the camera itself. Installation is pretty straightforward. Just mount the camera where you want it. You can use the little template it gives you, but I just held it up there and screwed it right in with the provided screws, and then loosen your adjustment screws and then retighten them after you get it exactly where you need it. It does give you plenty of degree of movement. Apologies for the traffic noise out here, but as you can see, we have the camera installed up on that corner there, and we have the Ethernet wire running along here and down through the house right there. It goes through the basement and up into the NVR. Okay, so now that we've had a little bit of time to use the camera and get a feel for it, it's giving off the vibe that it's kind of designed for a small business or something that is going to have a lot of people going in and out of a lot. And if that's something that you have that this thing would be great for, or if you're just overkill and you really want the best of the best as far as features go, this is a great camera for you. Now, if we're talking about resolution, this thing is only 4 megapixels, even though it advertises as Ultra HD. We all know Ultra HD is actually 4K, and this is not 4K. This is 4 megapixel, which is actually like 2K. Now this thing is huge. It is a big camera. That is also a drawback. in many cases, especially around a home. For a business, you want a big camera to discourage people from doing bad things, and maybe at the home too, but most people probably don't want a huge camera in their face, so which is why we put this one in the backyard. So moving on to the NVR itself, the whole thing is built really well. It's got great build quality. It is super easy to add your hard drives into the NVR. You can have up to 16 terabytes with two 8 terabyte hard drives. We opted for a 4 terabyte surveillance drive here from Western Digital, and that is not included, so you will need to factor that into your calculations. But just know that you can keep this whole system with up to 8 cameras completely off the network with this NVR and keep it all local, and just have that peace of mind if your hat of preference is of the tinfoil variety. Also keep in mind, it's not necessary to mount or have your NVR near your TV. You can have this next to your networking equipment and keep it completely disconnected from a TV or display, and use the web UI or the app or the Windows desktop application as well. There are lots of different options you can use to access your settings and things like that if you do go ahead and connect it to your network. So taking a look at the web UI, which is essentially the same if you hook an HDMI and a mouse up to your NVR, we can be brought to the live view here, which is simply just showing your live feed. Taking a look at the playback tab, it is not the most user-friendly way to scrub through your footage. Basically, you can uncheck which ones you want to see and select the date on the right-hand side there and which cameras you want to be viewing at that specific time. Now, I wish there was some way to show a thumbnail for that specific time and image. You can go back into IVS in a different panel, which we'll be taking a look at soon. Just when you go to the playback, it's not very user-friendly. All right, now jumping into the AI tab, you can see that there are some options here under the Smart Plan. IVS and heat map are available to us, but facial detection, people counting, facial recognition, none of that is available while you're using IVS. Now, IVS is available by camera or device if your camera supports it, the device being the NVR. And what this is there's all sorts of different options under type that you can choose from, the main one being tripwire, but you can also pick from a slew of other options: loitering detection, missing, crowd gathering, parking, fast moving, abandon, or intrusion. So like I was saying before, this is kind of designed for more of a business situation, but if you're after this sort of thing, then this is kind of a neat feature. And in here is where you're going to get your person or vehicle detection if you're after that, and that is under the object filter down below. And after you set up your tripwire, you will be able to select whether you want it to go in both directions or just crossing one direction to another or vice versa, and if you want that to be a person or a vehicle. Now if we jump into the smart search, it's called, and filter through IVS, you can see that there were 11 events today that thought it detected a person. Now I will see that this was at 2:30 in the morning, as you can see, and there's no person in the clip whatsoever. 4 of them had people in it, which was myself later in the day, but none of the other ones actually contained a person at all. And the playback of these specific clips in the smart search alone is actually played back in slow motion. It seems like it's at half speed for some reason. So there's some kind of bug going on there, but if you do go back to the playback tab, it actually plays at proper speed. So it's just within this smart search area. If you go into the alarm tab and video detection, this is where you can set the standard video detection for basically the pixels on the screen. It's not looking for human or vehicle detection or anything like that. You can change your different regions for up to 4 different regions. You can see that I blocked out where the wind chime is to kind of prevent that from giving us any kind of alerts. You can change the sensitivity and threshold, and that's just something you got to play around with for your specific area. And this is kind of where we found was best. Diving a little bit deeper into the NVR, we can see that we can go into the camera settings, and this is where you'll see each camera that is connected to your NVR. In this case, we only have the one, and you can see that it's directly connected to a port, that PoE port, as I mentioned before. And you can adjust the image as well, and we found that scene self-adaptation, I don't know why that wasn't default. It made it look so much better, and I believe that's what actually kicks in that processing power to kind of give it exactly what it needs to give a good image. Storage is where you can set the schedule for when your hard drive is going to be recording. Here we have pretty much everything set 24/7, so it's always going to be recording. The night color feature on this camera is really impressive, to say the least. Now, nothing can see in the dark, but if you just have a little bit of ambient light or just snow on the ground, that naturally gives off a lot of ambient light because it's so reflective. That is really all you need for a camera like this to work properly. And if you don't have any light, it's got those two little LEDs on the front that give off just enough light for you to see that 66 feet away or so, and that giant sensor that it's got to let in all of that light, which is why this thing is so big in the first place. It's also got really good processing to boost that ISO and give you a pretty good image with a little bit of noise, but nothing that you really can't make out what you're looking at. And it is in color because it is using regular white LEDs or the light around you. It's not using infrared or anything like that. Now, like I said, if it is snowy outside, you can actually see really, really far away, and you can do all of the zooming in and things like that. And during the day, this thing is really nice image quality. Like I said, it is only that 4 megapixel. It's not 4K. You're at the limitations of that when you go and do a digital zoom. But because it has all of those features of low light, it is probably better than a 4K camera if you're using it in a low light situation. Thank you to Petursen for sponsoring this video. The Petursen electric height adjustable standing desk offers all kinds of really cool features at a super affordable price. If you're one of those people that sit down most of the day at work and you don't even realize how much time has gone past, this desk will help you out tremendously by allowing you to set a timer to alert you when it is time to take a break and stand up. The motor lift mechanism offers smooth height adjustments from 28 to 47.6 inches at a speed of about 1 inch per second, which is also super quiet, under 50 decibels, to not distract you from your work. Comes with a 7-button controller with 3 programmable memory presets. It allows you to smoothly transition from sitting to standing at the press of a single button and not get distracted from your work. Comes with an industrial grade steel frame with a super solid desktop. This desk is able to support up to 176 pounds, so you'll have no worries putting your computer and all of your work on top of the desk. To top it all off, this product comes with a lifetime full warranty, and it took me less than a half hour to set up. Learn more at the link below. All right, so conclusion time. If you made it this far in the video, you are awesome. So let's talk about the camera first. It's definitely not for everyone. It is a little bit expensive at that $189 price point, but you have to remember all of the processing that's going on within the camera itself. All of these AI and IVS features are available with just the camera without the AI NVR. The downside is it doesn't have a microphone or a speaker, and it is huge. But remember, it's that big because it's got a big sensor in it, and it's doing all of that processing locally. Now, that being said, if you need a camera that is excellent in low light, this is a great option for you. If low light isn't an issue for you, or you can have your own light on outside, then I would opt for something a little bit less expensive. Now, as far as the NVR goes, if you have all of those features built into the NVR, you don't need to have a smart camera like the one I have here. You can get a regular old camera for around $70 or $80. You can get a 4K Amcrest camera, attach it to your NVR, and you're good to go. You can still do all of the IVS features and all of the features that this NVR has that I went over with a typical dumb camera, if you want to call it that. That may not be as good at low light, but if you don't need that feature, don't spend the extra money on this specific camera. Now, if you just want the camera without the NVR, go for it. It's probably worth it. Just keep in mind that it doesn't have a microphone or a speaker, so if that's important to you, then this may not be for you. If you have any questions for me, leave them down below. Let's have a conversation. I may be able to help you decide if this product is for you. If you're interested in picking either one of them up, I'll have affiliate links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.